Presented by the Making Star Wars Podcasting Network. This is the Cantina Cast, your watering hole for thought-provoking Star Wars discussion, character dissections, quote and scene analysis, honest opinions on the Star Wars news that interests you, and whatever else these guys come up with. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joao.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 209 of the Cantina Cast. I am your host, Mike, and joining me is Joao. Joao, say hello to the fine folks.
Hello there.
It's good to have that hello there. We got a lot of news to talk about, Joao. This episode is going to be more news focused than I thought. Actually, I'm surprised we actually have this content because I wasn't even sure we were going to have any content this week. So, Entertainment Weekly, Disney, and Lucasfilm gave us a bit of a gift this week, Joao. So we got a lot of news to get over. So it'll be a news-centric kind of episode, but we'll have a little bit of a mini topic at the end there. So let's get into it. So Entertainment Weekly confirmed, I guess you could say, I don't mean to copy, confirmed that there will be no Lando Calrissian in The Last Jedi, which we're not surprised by. I don't think we had any indication that he would be. I guess maybe we're all hoping that maybe that would be a possibility, but I remember in the early days of us talking about the sequel back in 2014, 2015, we'd said, he'll probably show up in the second one of the sequel, and, that seems fitting. It would mirror what was in the original trilogy, but that's not going to be the case. So what are your thoughts on this, Joe? Good, bad, indifferent? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't think anybody expected it. It was kind of a weird confirmation that when I saw that, and I just thought, well, we'll just lead the show with that because, I mean, there's not really much to say on it, but it's worth mentioning because, we just played, the story mode in Battlefront 2, and Billy D came back for that. And it was, his stuff was, some of the more, the funny stuff.
Him and his buddy there, Shriv.
Shiv.
Yeah.
I love that. The best stuff. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, love that guy. I know y'all talked about him on the last podcast with Albert and everything. And so, that was some great interactions and stuff. And to be honest, that Shriv guy stole the show, but of the whole story mode, kind of in a way, just with that comedy. But, with him, with Lando, it was definitely, with Billy D interacting with the guy, it definitely brought it even up to another notch. So, yeah, I think we'd all like to somehow see Billy D kind of come back. And even if it was just, I wouldn't even ever have expected it to be more than a cameo. But it would be nice to kind of see him, or at least get some kind of mention of what he's doing, where he's at. Is Lando still alive? We don't necessarily know that in this time frame of The Last Jedi. We don't know that we don't know that. We just don't know those things. So but it's no surprise. It was just kind of a weird confirmation. So I thought I'd throw it in at the very beginning. But I won't say that Lando is one of my all-time favorite characters. I like him enough. And Billy D is obviously a character all within himself, and he's you gotta love Billy D. I think I might like Billy D more than I actually like Lando. So if that makes any sense, but they're kind of one and the same. We'll get more into that a little bit later with people not being able to separate themselves from their characters, but
we're guilty of looking at them, but we'll get into that in a minute. But continue.
But but Billy D Billy D holds Lando in, he's protective of that character, and we've talked about how I heard you and Albert talking about the Padme novel and how George, we've always said, George was kind of protective over the character of Padme, and people, you're protective over these kind of things, and and obviously Billy D with Lando, that's his. Obviously, with Star Wars, it's the biggest movie franchise ever. So, and he's in it. So yeah, he's going to be protective over the character that he played within that. And, we know that he's, was working with, Glover there, Donald Glover, and, trying to get him on base with how Lando kind of operates and things like that. There was those pictures somebody snapped with them out at lunch way long ago before the Solo movie started to film and things like that. So yeah, it's obviously disappointing. Maybe he gets the cameo in 9. I wouldn't ever expect it. I never expected, even going back a couple years ago, I never expected him to have a big role. Billy D
I think we said as much.
And Billy D is, I mean, he's even older than Harrison Ford, and I don't think he's near as in like the kind of physical condition Harrison Ford is in. I mean, Harrison could, he put the tennis shoes on and he's running around Starkiller Base on the set, and things like that. So, I don't think we would expect that kind of action out of Billy D necessarily, but I mean, he could be sitting behind a desk, doing his thing, leading, doing something, running a business, something like that. But obviously, we're not getting an 8.
I would like to see a mention maybe, because the way I look at it or think, you would think that Lando, with all his friends in low places and very, very low places, you would think he would help the Resistance in some way, even if it's just like a hologram to someone, like communicating. Well, that would be pretty cool. But I don't think, obviously, we're not going to get it in 8, but maybe in 9.
Well, like I say, we don't even know if the character is even alive. I mean, maybe they kill him off in a novel or something. It would be, I don't know if it would have the same. I mean, maybe in
punch.
A cameo, maybe somebody comes in and does something. I don't know. I mean, maybe in a novel, maybe they do something in the comic where Kylo seeks him out and and does something to him or something. That would be pretty wicked. But why not? It's Kylo and he's doing all kinds of crazy things we're hearing. So who knows? Yeah,
well, Kylo, I think he's got more issues than we even realized, Joe. But we'll get into that another day. So we got a slew of TV spots that have come out. I even mentioned to Albert at the top of the show last episode. It's kind of hard to keep up, but
and even more have come out since then, since you guys recorded.
I think 1 or 2 came out even today. So, they just keep popping up. But anything that stood out for you, I mean, the one that stood out for me was the one I think you posted in Discord where we see a bit of Benicio del Toro's character, DJ, no, that's not the one. Actually, the one with Rey and Luke, and they're going back and forth in their discussion there, and he's telling her to resist and stuff like that. That stood out for me personally, but what about you?
Yeah, that's the one. I mean, obviously Luke and the Falcon, we've already talked about that one. That was a big one. And then the rest of them been kind of like ho-hum for me. And it's like, okay, like just bring the movie out already. Like I don't want to see anymore.
Fatigued, I think.
Yeah. Well, this happened with The Force Awakens too. And
which I think we avoided a lot of those, and I even said to Albert, "I'm trying to avoid them."
Yeah. Well, this is going to tie. This is going to tie into our main little discussion later at the end of the show. So we can point that out here, but definitely that spot where Rey is like light, dark, and then I feel like it's edited in and it's at a different moment because it sounds like the audio is not on the same track, and she says, it's calling to me. Like, it doesn't sound like it's on the same track. And that's the ear of, I guess, a podcaster, Mike, where it doesn't sound like it lines up with it sounds like it's in a different environment than the other 2 lines or something. Like, it sounds more hollow or more in a well. If is the term I always use, like when our audio is bad, I'm like, I sound like I'm in a well. Like whenever that happens, for occasionally, hopefully not this episode, and then we try to avoid that. But whenever one of us sounds bad or something goes hiccupy with the audio, and it's like, well, we already recorded the episode, got to release it. So, but it's like, man, it's like, I sound like I'm in a well this episode. I don't know what happened or something, and that's kind of the way it sounds in comparison to the other 2 lines she's speaking. And then she says, it's calling to me. And then you see Luke saying, resist it. And then he screams and he's like, Rey, and he has that.
He's like waking her up out of the trance.
Yeah. And I don't want to be negative here, and everybody's going crazy and saying, going on this. Well, they're saying, Mark might be nominated for an Oscar, and look at all this acting he's doing that we're seeing in the trailers. It's like between him, that goofy look he gives in the original trailer where the ground cracks, and then he's got like all these like kind of goofy look.
Mannerisms?
It's definitely Mark coming out in it, like where it's like it's kind of. I feel I'm getting more of a kind of Mark Hamill goofy sense in some ways, more than like, oh, this is like totally serious, and maybe it's totally out of context. But
maybe
it's like,
because we know Mark's personality. Is that the problem? Maybe.
I don't know, but like I'm not at this point. I'm not saying that I'm disappointed with anything I've seen. I'm just saying that I haven't seen anything in the trailer that's like screaming out to me like, "Oh, this is like Oscar worthy type performance." Like I'm not seeing that yet. Like I haven't seen, besides the line he has in the theatrical trailer where it's like, I've only seen this raw strength once before. That's the one that sticks out to me. And I guess you associate Oscar with drama and not the, but I mean, Matt Damon, what he won for The Martian, right? And that was kind of,
he won. That's not comedy, but
they won. Well, I don't know. He didn't win. Well, he didn't win for that, but they won the comedy musical award. Like for whatever reason, the Oscars lumps comedies and musicals together. I don't know why that is, but it won for something when it happened. So. But yeah, there's a lot of funny moments in that movie. I'm getting off topic, but at least it's in space, right? So, it's some connection, I guess, kind of whatever. But my point is like, I'm not seeing the so-called Oscar-worthy performance out of Mark Hamill yet. Now, I know it's going to be great and we all want to see Luke and everything like that, but I'm not getting this is some kind of a great epic performance. I haven't seen that out of the trailers yet. And it's a trailer, and I wouldn't expect to see that
and
yet.
And who knows if that's even in the movie, that particular moment.
Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of, and again, I don't want to be negative about it, but like, I don't know, like, I haven't even wanted to say it in Discord. Like, I was like, I'm not feeling the performance in these trailers from him just yet. Like, maybe in the whole context of the movie, it's going to make more sense. But even when he screams Rey, it feels silly. In a way, like, am I off?
Well, the whole movie is really silly. The whole premise of
Star Wars is just a silly thing. But am I off base saying that? Like when he's screaming, he's like, he's like screaming, he's like Rey. Like, it's just this kind of over dramatic. Like, even in that moment, it seems like it's supposed to be funny. Even though I know it's not supposed to be funny. Am I off base? Like with my judgment here?
I think so. I'll say this: what I've seen in this didn't win me over to say, oh yeah, give the guy the Oscar. Obviously we have to see the movie to be the ultimate judge of that. But like you said, I get it's almost like maybe a mixed performance, because when he's serious, I think he does well. Like, I think he's going to nail that. But when he does something where it's an emotional, like, outburst scream type of stuff, we're going to see the Joker comedy type thing pop into our head. And maybe that's us. It's a me problem and a you problem, and not a Mark problem or anyone else's watching.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
when he's like, this isn't going to go the way you
think.
Like, that's very good.
Yeah.
And the other line about the power and everything, it's very good. And that's where you kind of see it. There's some of the other lines where I'm kind of like, let's see how it plays out. I'm not judging. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad at all. Like, I'm just like, that's not, I'm just saying that's not, like, from what we've seen, that's not,
and what people
that's not
said.
Oscar stuff to me. Like, so,
but he wasn't, and
that doesn't mean that that's not what that it's going to be bad for Star Wars, because Star Wars is not about winning, actor, nominate. Alec Guinness, I think, is the only actor to be nominated from a Star Wars movie. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in A New Hope. I don't think no other actor's ever been nominated for any kind of.
It probably won't happen again.
Yeah, and it probably won't happen this time. And I think it's just like this futile hope that, like, Mark could somehow get this. And I think as Star Wars fans, we'd love to see him get it. And, I would have
George is going to give it to him. We joked about that. I'm going to keep this Oscar.
Yeah,
thank you.
I wanted to, I wanted to see, I would have liked to have seen Harrison get the, a nod for The Force Awakens, because I thought, I thought he deserved it, at least a nomination, and he didn't get that. So, we'll see where it goes. But
it ain't going to happen. But anyway, all right. Well, let's get into a creature that I actually like in The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi is the Crystal Foxes, which I'm excited to actually we get to talk about it now, Joe, because it's all Porg centric the last I don't know about months, and I've had to endure that since they've been introduced in April or whatever, and it's been horrible in the Discord and everything. Everybody busted my chops. But finally, I get the creature that really matters, the Crystal Fox, which is Vulpex, I believe is what they're called.
That's the way I'm saying it.
Yeah, that's how I'm going to say it.
Or
so,
the pack form would be Vulptices? Vulptices is the way I'm going to say it. Vulptices, Vulpitces. Vulptices is the pack form, and I guess the Vulps is the Latin form of fox, which our good buddy Pablo Hidalgo is the one who named them. So kudos to him for once in my life. I'll give him that. Pretty good. So,
wow.
But I like these. These things are. I'm not against the Porgs at all. Like, I'm not like you, where I'm like ranting against them or anything, or like, I know it's shtick with you with the Porgs mostly.
It's really, I'm indifferent. I really don't care.
You don't care about cute things in Star Wars, but we're dog guys. And foxes are a type of a dog. Like they're related to dogs. So this is our forte here. And you've got these, the Vulptex here. And yes, I want an action figure of these. I want some kind of a statue of this. I want something immediately.
Can you imagine what Sideshow could do in Hot Toys? Oh,
the animatronic is amazing. I showed Ashley and she was like, wow. And, and then they scanned it in the CGI. And the idea, in the quote here is the idea is that these wonderful sort of feral creatures had lived on this planet and had consumed the planet's surface, and as such had become crystalline. Scanlan says, I'm not sure. I guess maybe he's with the
props or
whatever.
FX.
I'm not exactly sure who he is, but I wanted to give him credit for the quote there. But yeah, this was also in the Entertainment Weekly stuff. And to me, these are way cooler than the Porgs. Like, so I threw it into the show notes because everyone's on this Porg, and we see them screaming and doing these things, and how important are they going to be, or how unimportant are they going to be? But these foxes, like the lore behind that they consume the planet's surface, and that they became this because basically, it's life adapting is the idea. It's the idea behind it is life adapting to your environment. And they weren't this before, but they became this, and they evolved into this crystalline fox eventually. This is the kind of Star Wars lore stuff. It is absolutely amazing to me.
Well, it was because they were feral creatures, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the dingo in Australia is a similar situation. I could be wrong, so maybe Steele will correct me on this, and some of our listeners in Australia and stuff like that. But I just think that's cool that they were once feral creatures, or they still are, but they've adapted, like you said, and became part of basically one with the planet in a way, and have this symbiotic thing. It goes back to what Obi-Wan said.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost another way of looking at the Force or whatever. We're all a part of it. They're basically like a part of the planet. Like they live. I mean, and like just like how everything is, but it's more of a symbolic gesture to that, where they became like they're literally a part of it because they've adapted and evolved. Like it's like those sea creatures who live here on Earth 30,000 feet below in the Pacific Ocean that we don't even know what's down there. But they've adapted and somehow they live under the pressure and I would imagine the cold of the water, and somehow there are things living down there. And that's the way I'm kind of looking at this, is that these creatures have evolved into this, and first of all, they look badass. They look cool. And, they're foxes, which is a kind of dog. And, we love that. I love that. And, cause I just am in love with, all dogs, and I just get, mesmerized. I look at my pet would probably get mad at me the way I go out and I look at another dog and I'm, oh man, that dog is so beautiful. And she would probably get mad at me for cheating on her, I guess, as you could say. It's like I'm looking at them like it would be, like almost that kind of a situation. It just kind of being silly there. But yeah, I mean, to me, these are infinitely cooler than the porgs.
Oh, without a doubt. And I dig the crystals are kind of growing on them. Like I'm curious if that's because they eat it and it kind of grows on them, or is it because
said they made the animatronic had like 50,000 crystals or something on it. I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't even know what that even means, but that's insane.
Well, I'm just curious if the crystals grow on them from eating like the planet, or if it just kind of like, because they're in that environment, the crystals kind of like cake themselves on them, like their fur and stuff. I'm curious how that's going to go. I'm really curious to see what happens with them. And
I guess, I mean, I guess it's just like it's a commentary like on life and evolving, I think is
which
where
is
that's
symbolism
going.
For the whole thing here with the sequel and with Luke and Rey and Kylo and Leia. Everybody's evolving into something else than what they are. That's
I mean, it's evolving. It's adapting and surviving, and that's what life is in general. That's not even Star Wars. That's just life. It's adapting. Correct. It's adapting to your environment, and somehow you shouldn't be able to live in this environment, and yet you do.
As Ian said in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. But anyway, let's get into Luke and Leia. There's more stuff in the EU article. Apparently, I guess they're seeing if there's going to be a reunited scene with Luke and Leia here, and how they, mock as he goes on here. I can't really separate me from Luke and Carrie from Leia, which we've said countless times on the show. I've often said they're one and the same to me, which is why I never really went to get their autograph and everything, because I know Mark's a normal person. He's flawed. I don't agree with him on certain things, or he wouldn't agree with me and all that stuff. That's not to say that he's not a bad guy. I think he's a great guy. I would like to hang out with him, but I'm afraid if I did, like, that image of Luke would be tainted. So I don't go and meet them. I will not go and get an autograph. And I won't spend $100, $200 for the autograph anyway. But Joe, what were your thoughts on this? What's going on?
No, but you would spend $200 to play Darth Plagueis in Battlefront 2. So there you go.
Well, maybe even more. Actually, I think Crawley said that on the Bad Gamers podcast. I don't think I said it, but
I'd spend the paycheck if they'd let me play as Darth Plagueis in any video game.
Who'd do the voice, though? Who would do that voice?
That's the question. That's a different topic for a different day. We'll have to talk about this later.
All right, let's go.
So, Ryan said, you've got this cover where Luke and Leia are there, and we also had the Vanity Fair stuff where Mark and Carrie, they're hugging, they're in the costumes. We've seen some other stuff, so we're like,
and even behind the scenes,
this reunion has to happen, right? They're on set together, they're on the same. But then Ryan goes and says this. He says, whether they actually get that reunion in The Last Jedi isn't a given, though. And then Ryan says, it's nice seeing them on the cover, though, even if all we have is that, Johnson says. So to me, this is the biggest of all the misdirects ever, because the reunion is happening and Ryan is completely playing with us and just saying, well, you got the cover, you got a cover and you got some photos. So,
So he's doing what you and I would do if we were in his position, kind of just like,
this maybe, is of all the things that we call misdirect, this is, to me, in my mind, this is the biggest misdirect of all time, because this is happening and he wants it covered up. Because can you imagine when Luke when Luke goes to Crate and he gets there and he looks across the room and they meet eyes and Leia sees Luke and Luke sees Leia? Can you imagine the outpouring of emotion? And obviously Carrie's death is going to play into that, much like, unfortunately, like how Heath Ledger's death in The Dark Knight, and people went and saw that movie because, it's this amazing performance and Heath Ledger's gone. And I think that's going to drive some people to, that might not even be Star Wars fans to want to go see this movie because it's Carrie Fisher's very, very, very last performance. She did other thing, she did Family Guy voices and those episodes have come out. This is the very last thing that Carrie Fisher ever did that will be released, as far as we know anyway, that's been announced. So,
well, here's why I think this needs to happen.
But can you imagine the drama? I mean, even without Carrie and all of that happening, unfortunately, but can you imagine, she's looking for Luke and now he's finally come back and all of this drama in the movie that has happened and they lock eyes. The emotion that has to, because we've talked about this before where Luke is like, I failed you. I failed your son. And, and obviously Rey in one of the TV spots says Kylo failed you, but I'm sure Luke maybe feels like he failed Kylo or Ben. And now he's looking Leia in the face. I took your son from you and I tried to train him and he turned and it's like all this remorse and I ran away and now I'm back. And the multitude of things that has to be going on in their heads, in the audience's heads. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, it's like a mind explosion of crap going on.
Well, the reason I want it to happen and it needs to happen, I mean, other than Luke and Leia, we need them together. It's an emotional thing. And I agree with you. But the fact that we didn't have the big three reunite in The Force Awakens. And now, obviously Han's dead. So now we're going to go to another movie. And obviously, sadly, Carrie's no longer with us. So that's it.
Luke never gets to reunite with any of them like that.
Correct.
That's the consequence that would end up happening. Now, if they didn't shoot it and they were waiting till 9 and unfortunately, life got in the way and that didn't end up happening, then that's what ended up happening, unfortunately. But I don't believe it. I believe Ryan is completely being deceiving here. I don't take any of this at face value. I think that it's the worst cover in the world to say just read it. It's nice seeing them on the cover though, even if all we have is that. That's the worst lie in the history of anything, man.
Well, I don't know. There's been some.
No, that's come on. He's trying to lie so bad and he's not doing a good job of it at all. Now, I get it. We don't know the context. We don't know his tone of voice. We're reading it, it's the internet, and we misread things all the time on the internet. And obviously with journalism today, they just make it sound however the hell they want it to sound because journalism has absolutely no ethics in any part of the world, in my opinion. So, but I feel like that this is the worst lie that probably Rian Johnson has probably ever tried to tell in his life. This is happening. Happening. And I don't want to get into the final hype of The Last Jedi early, which is our next episode, but I'm giving this a 100% chance of happening. Luke and Leia are getting reunited in The Last Jedi. I'm calling it right now.
Well, I think yes. And I think it starts when Luke is on the Falcon going down memory lane and, his little buddy R2, and I really do hope that the callback and R2 plays the message and that triggers Luke to go and do his thing. And judging by things with the pictures in a minute, we'll get to that. But I want to talk about Luke and what he says. I mean, Mark, what he says, which kind of goes with what we're about to talk about. So I hope that's the trigger that gets Luke on his way to reuniting with Leia and all that good stuff. And I think it'll happen. I hope it happens because, like I said, we missed out on the big three getting together. Now, unfortunately, real life got in the way. You know what I mean? So, and like you said, if they lock eyes, they hug, and they're there, it'll be an emotional moment for all of us, including Mark and Carrie and, Luke and Leia. And obviously us as an audience, our heartstrings will be, torn there and it'll be emotional, I have to say the least. But let's get into what Luke said here about Mark said about Luke with Carrie. So what did he have to say?
Yeah, and this is going to tie in heavily to stuff
Correct.
We've always talked about with somebody else who is very prominent in this fictional family. It's very important for Luke to feel grounded and feel like he has a family. I think he loves her dearly, Hamill says. And the point that I want to point out here is and feel like he has family. what have
Which
we
is-
always,
yeah.
what
With
is our
Vader.
main breakdown of Darth Vader? What is our main breakdown of Anakin Skywalker? What have we always said about Anakin Skywalker?
He's a family
wants
guy.
a family. He craves a family. It's the only thing that is important to him. And here we go. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, does it? I mean, when I read that, that is one of it's not this huge shock mystery. It's not Rey's parents. It's not this. It's not Ben was the chosen one that, and all this. It's not that kind of a line, but for the kind of content that we do, Mike, and that what we've talked about in the past and the people who've listened to the psychology of Darth Vader. And if you haven't, go back and listen. It was last December when that came out for easy find. And everything else we've talked about with the 4 character dissections we've done on Darth Vader. This is exactly what we say about Anakin Skywalker. And for Mark Hamill to say this about Luke, man, I mean, it's not shocking, but it's confirmation, and it's like, boom, boom. It's all about family, and that's what Star Wars is. And
Carrie even said as much too earlier in the year.
And Luke and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and that's what he wants. And anyway, I'll let you go, but you can see how, I mean, just this simple little line, because of the content that we do, Mike, it made me super excited.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that, and it should, because we've always said, like, as you said, Vader he's a family guy, as you said. I think on the episode The Psychology, he's a family guy at the end of the day. And of course, we had the behind the scenes thing where Carrie was talking about it, what Star Wars is, and it's about family. And then here we go, Mark kind of confirming that again, the space twins here. And of course, he goes on to say that how he can't separate him and Carrie from the whole, I'm Luke and she's Leia and all that other stuff. And they fight like siblings and all that other stuff. So, I mean, it's kind of sad. We're not going to, we have to get it, right? We need that scene. But, Ryan can't be that mean to us. You know what I mean? We need to have that. You know what I mean? So any more thoughts on this?
Oh, well, I mean, I guess I'll throw in this other line. Is Mark says Luke longs to have that extended family that he established in the original trilogies, or original trilogy. I don't know why it says original trilogies. It should just be original trilogy. Typo, buddy. But anyway, sorry. But
well,
now,
maybe Mark is a big fan of the whole thing now and just kind of went with trilogies.
Did Mark say that, or is that just a typo by the journalist there?
So anyway, go ahead, continue. We know what he meant.
Sorry, journalism, it sucks. I'm kidding. But now he has a place. Now he's at a place in his life, in his history, where he shunned all of that. So, look, this is very, even though Luke is not dark side, this is very Vader-like, in a way. You talk about mirroring images. He longs to have, he says extended family, but, he longs to have that family, and he established it, and he wants that. But now everything that's happened in his history, and he shunned all of that. That's what Vader did. That's exactly what Vader did. Luke is living, from these quotes, Luke seems to have lived through exactly what Vader did, only he just didn't turn to the dark side, but he still suffered through it. It's the curse of the freaking Skywalkers. It's the curse of the Skywalkers. It's the sins of the father. It's everything we've always talked about, and it's coming to fruition. And I couldn't be more excited, Mike, because I mean, I feel like that we have just over, the last year or two, we have hit all of this on the head. And it's like I'm not trying to gloat, but I mean,
but that's okay.
No, it's like we understood it. It's like on this base symbolic level. It's not about who Snoke is and who's Rey's parents and everything else. And we've talked about all that too. Don't get me wrong. But at the root level, it's about these core values of what matters to people and the functions of what drives us in life. And I mean, it seems like that, the things that we've talked about. I mean, you throw enough stuff on the wall, something's got to stick, right? So
well, that's true. We always say that something's going to stick.
But I mean, but we've said this kind of stuff before, and it just amazes me that this seems to actually be coming to fruition, and he seems to be living the same fate as Vader had to live, even though he didn't make the wrong decision. Vader made the decision to turn to the dark side. Forever will it dominate your destiny. And maybe,
and Luke turns his back.
And as I've said before, maybe it dominated the destiny. Sins of the father dominated the destiny of his offspring and offspring of the offspring. And, with Kylo and things like that, we've done the sins of the father episode. This is everything we've always talked about, and it's coming to fruition. And this is mythology. This is religion. This is everything tied into one. And it's amazing that it's actually could come to fruition here. And it looks like it is. This is going to be.
So there's a chance that
this is going to be great. Like this is exactly what I wanted. This is, I want the mythology. I want the lore. I want all of that stuff tied in. I want to be able to go back and say, yes, this is what it ties into. It's real life made into fiction. This is what it is. Like this is mythology. This is fiction. This is history. This is religion. It's all of that, and it's all tied into one, and it's so exciting.
Well, I'll say this. This gives me some hope with my prediction with Luke and Rey. I said this probably a year ago, maybe 7 months, 8 months ago, where I said, because I jokingly said before, Rey will say, I'm a Jedi just like my father before me, which is a nod to Luke because she saves Luke. She pulls him back as Luke did with his father. Like there's that mirroring of things, like it all goes in. That's how and of course Daisy wears that dress or that outfit last night with the flap thing looking like, and your mind starts racing and start thinking these things and stuff like that. So that's where I'm hoping that's where it'll go, because I think that'll be neat that the daughter saves the father. Will that happen? I don't know. I can't say for Hun, but we're pretty close to a lot of things.
We've discussed privately, Luke is the savior.
Yeah, yes, the Redeemer, as he is.
Yeah, the negotiator, Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Luke is the Redeemer. And so he had to redeem his father, and possibly, if it comes to now, we'll talk about this next week more in depth. But I don't think she's a Skywalker anymore. I don't think they went that direction, but I'll explain myself later next week. But if she is, Luke could be the Redeemer on both sides of it. And he's the balance. He's the one who,
like the father,
he turns people back. Like he's the one who's, and then it turns out Anakin, it turns out he was the chosen one. He tried to put that on Ben. He tries to put it on Rey. The Jedi tried to put it on Anakin, and it comes out in the end. It was Luke all in the end. It was him. So we'll see.
All right. Well, let's get into the photos just real quick, and then we'll get into our main thing here. But speaking of Luke and Rey, we have this one's probably my favorite image, and I actually have this up on my Facebook cover there, where Luke is looking down. It's a closer image of Luke looking down on Rey training with the saber. And of course, me being the dad, it reminded me of, me and my daughter, me looking upon my daughter while she does her, playing, although she does play with her lightsaber quite a bit. So I guess it's similar in a lot of ways, but I thought it was pretty epic and interesting that Luke is this the moment where he decides to train her? Because we get that moment of we feel like there's that rift.
Well, I feel like, Mike, I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to jump in and say, because we see there's one shot in the TV spot where she has the staff, and it's very similar to her picking up the lightsaber. I don't think I'm making this up, right? And so I think
she's right there. You can see it in the picture of the staff in that.
Yeah, I think she's practicing with the staff first, and then she picks the lightsaber up. And I think this is her showing the fortitude. Luke's shunned her away at this point, is my guess. And then she's like, well, I'm going to train myself. I'm going to train myself up. And he's looking on, and he's like, okay, she's dedicated. Maybe I can help her. She's not just going away. She's not giving up. the same way I didn't give up when I went and sought out Yoda, and he tried to tell me, you'll be scared and this and that, and I went through it anyway. So to me, that's what it seems like. And it's funny because I remember a conversation with Joe in our Discord where we were talking about how does Rey know how to use the lightsaber in The Force Awakens? And I said, well, I mean, she's skilled with that staff. So, I mean, it is a hand-to-hand combat weapon. So, I mean, maybe it's not and she kind of holds the lightsaber with two hands the same way you would a staff. Maybe she's just using it like she would one end of the staff. And Joe, this was a few months ago, like when we first started our Discord up, and he kind of argued with me, and he said, no, he's like, I've done some like training with weapons and stuff like this. And he said, they're kind of completely different. And I said, well, but wait a minute, and we kind of went back and forth, and he kind of went to my way. And I said, well, I'm not saying it's a 1-to-1 comparison, but I'm saying you could train yourself up in a certain way. And I can't remember how we ended up coming to an agreement, but he ended up kind of agreeing with me there. So and then it was funny that this ends up happening in the trailers where she's training with the staff, and then and now she's got the lightsaber, and she's like, okay, am I ready to train with this now? So I'm wondering if some of that, if that's where some of it came from, was just she's used to having a hand-to-hand combat weapon, and that's how she was able to at least hold her own and defeat Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens and do those kind of things. So, and now Luke sees in the picture, he's watching her train, and maybe this is where he decides he's gonna train her because she's showing the fortitude and she's not leaving and she's being stubborn, and he's like, okay, well, I guess I got to go through with this.
Yep, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But I'll say this: when she holds the saber, she's got more of like when you're like her hands are separate; they're not exactly together, which you would think like baseball bat, you would put them together.
That's why I kind of compared it to the staff. She's trying to hold it. She's trying to hold it as far apart as she can. It's almost like choking up on it, if to use the baseball bat reference.
Yeah,
it's
correct.
almost like she's choking up on it in a way. Not exactly, because choking, you'd still have your hands together with a baseball bat, and you just move your hands up. Like Barry Bonds is the best example. Like he would choke up on his bat. Like, I mean, you'd see 3 inches of bat underneath his hands when he would swing the baseball bat back, for those who remember him playing. But yeah, it seems like it's almost like she's holding it like a staff. So, I mean, I think that sort of explains how she knows how to swing it.
A little bit. And then we got to take into account it's in a galaxy far, far away, so it's not exactly what we are. But in any case, let's get to the more darker, more menacing picture, I guess you could say, where she's obviously in Snoke's throne room and she's before Snoke looking serious. And I don't think she looks scared.
Do we know that that's Snoke's throne room? I don't know that we know that.
I don't know.
It's somewhere probably on that ship, I guess we'd say.
I'm just assuming, but that doesn't mean anything. But Kylo is behind her, or at least we assume it's Kylo because it's hard to tell. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this with Rey and the dark side? And it's
I posted
hinted.
I posted a couple pictures in our Discord, and I compared it to Anakin looking at the screen and Obi-Wan standing behind him when they're on Mustafar.
Correct,
and then it's framed
opposite.
I think it's framed opposite. Yeah, I think Obi-Wan would be over the other shoulder, I think
so.
And then
actually I think it's on the same. It might be the same.
Yeah. And then I thought of Vader and Luke on the little before they go up to the Death Star, when he turns himself over and Luke is he's over the balcony and there's that shot and Vader has his lightsaber and he's over him. It's that same kind of shot. It's not as far the characters aren't as far in the distance. And then also I thought of Anakin and Padme, with Padme standing behind Anakin and he's kind of meditating there on Naboo. So, I mean, this is a Star Wars stylistic shot. This is a Star Wars framing shot. This happens a lot. So I don't know that it means anything as far as all that goes, but it just reminded me of those things.
Yeah, no, definitely did. I'm very curious how this ending is going to go because I didn't think Kylo was there to be honest. I didn't think he was at the end where Rey was, And
well,
of course
I've got my own prediction, but I'll make that next week about Kylo. So
yeah, well, I think I mentioned what I think might happen to him the other day to you. I don't know if you agreed with me or not. But anyway, let's get into our main topic, which is, are we going into The Last Jedi cold turkey before the release? Are we going to keep devouring the TV spots, the spoilers maybe? I know I will, because it's me and I just can't help myself. I need to know these things. But I think you're taking a different approach, Joa.
Yeah, I'm within the next week, I probably will close out Discord on my PC. I'm going to delete the app on my phone temporarily. And I'm going to
just shut it all down.
Try not to go to Reddit. I'm not on Facebook anymore. I don't have Instagram on my phone anymore. And the only thing I've got is Twitter, which I don't really follow anything. Mark Hamill's one of them, but he's not going to spoil anything about. So I probably will just try to even avoid Twitter at that point. I don't want to know anymore. TV spots, if you're watching TV and you've got cable, if it happens, it happens, but they're not going. But the thing is that you're going to have the world premiere on December the 9th, and they showed the first 10 minutes of the movie on November,
Mexico, right?
Yeah. I think it was Mexico on November. It was a Spanish speaking, because it was Los Últimos Jedi. So I think it was Mexico. It could have been Spain, I guess. I don't want to discriminate, but I think it was, it was a Spanish speaking country, obviously. And Mark and Daisy and everything were there. They showed the first 10 minutes of the movie. And I'm like, okay, this is getting out of hand now. I've already
posted something in Discord. I'm like, didn't you want to avoid this? Now
the leak is the leaks are out. The leaks are going to come when the press starts seeing the movie, the world premiere. So now we're going to know, I don't want to know if she's a Skywalker or not. I don't want to know that before I see the movie. I don't want to be biased or disappointed. If I'm going to be disappointed, I'm going to be disappointed after 2 hours and 30 minutes. Don't do
2 hours
this now.
And 50, isn't it? Isn't it it's even longer than we thought?
Well, it's 150, so it's 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Okay, all right.
It's 150 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes is what it equates to. So, yeah, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to do this. So I'm going to get off our own Discord. I just don't want it. I'm going to try to go as cold turkey as I can, because knowing what's going to happen, and we're into the spoilers a little bit. We're watching and we're looking at everything, but at a certain point I have to draw the line. And it's I don't want to, we pretty much knew most of the script of The Force Awakens. We knew kind of Luke wasn't going to be there till the very, very end, and we freaked out. And then we had 9 months to adjust to it, and we weren't disappointed.
We don't get that this time.
Well, and I don't want it. And especially I don't want it 2 days or 3 days before I see the movie. So yes,
when I get the Han Solo thing for the Force Awakens, when I saw it,
you're oh, it's going to be great. And don't tell me, you're oh, you've got a buddy, Tom, FedEx Tom is going to see the movie a couple days before, because he's with press and he gets to do the movie reviews and everything. And you said, text me yes or no if she's a Skywalker. And I was like, don't tell me. And you were like, I won't. I'm yelling at you through text message. I'm like, don't tell me. You better not even hint at it. Don't just let me be disappointed in the movie. Don't make me be disappointed outside. Again, we'll get more into that next week, whether what our percentage is and what we really think will happen, which will come out the next episode will come out December the 6th or something like that. And it will be our very last episode before The Last Jedi.
Well, then we're onslaught of podcasts will be coming after the 14th.
Yeah. So do you have anything else to say on the cold? No, why do you do that? Why will you want to be not surprised? 2 days before, why can't you just wait 2 more days and just be fulfilled watching the movie? I can understand we're 6 months, we're 3 months out, we're 2 months out. Why 2 days before? At that point, just hold out and just watch the movie.
I'm trying to do that, but you know me. I got to know these things.
I'm the same way in a way, but when it comes to like, it's a week before the movie, it's like, I'm just going to go away. Like, I don't tell me anymore.
Well,
if I know she's not a Skywalker going into the movie, like, I mean, it's going to ruin the damn movie for me. If I find out during and it's acceptable and it's well played and it's like, oh, that's so good. Then it's like, oh, well, like now I don't care. But if I find out before, like I'm going to go in and I'm going to be
sour, yeah, exactly. You'll have sour grapes and you'll feel moody and everything else. I'll say this. I'm trying to, like I told Albert on the last episode of the top of the show for that one, 208, I said I try to avoid the TV things. I don't really want to, of course I have been avoiding it because I've been playing Battlefront 2 for, the last week or so. So I haven't really seen much on the TV other than what's posted in Discord.
Well, everything gets posted in our Discord, though.
Correct.
Like, I mean, we got enough people in there that everything gets posted because everybody's following everything, and that's why, I'm just going to shut the Discord. Well, I'm not going to shut it down. I'm going to shut down my end of the Discord, and that'll be it with it. So
for me, it's more like, and Jason convinced me of this with The Force Awakens from making Star Wars. He said, I don't mind talking about the spoilers. It's the execution I think that he is looking for. I'm wondering if they can pull it off. Now, with you, with the whole, is she or isn't she a Skywalker? I mean, the argument has gotten so blah to me, and I'm tired of even talking about it.
Well, I am too, in a way, but there's still, even though and again, we'll get into this more next week.
Yeah, next week.
But it's still so much that I still have the bias, though. Even though I know she's not going to be, I still want her to be so badly. And it's like, even though I know that's not the direction they're wanting to go with this, and I know that that's not what they're doing, but I still want her to be so bad that if I know before I see the movie, I just feel like it's going to,
well, it might do that with me,
sour my experience, and I don't want that to happen. I want to just go in and be mesmerized. I just want to be mesmerized by this movie.
Yeah, but I think I've convinced myself, and we'll get into it more next week, that she's not, that even if I know about it now, it won't bother me that much, because I'm more in wanting to know about Luke, the dynamic with Rey and Luke, and with Kylo, and even Snoke, and Leia, all these other things.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
If Tom texts you and says, yes, she is a Skywalker, and then what will you be like, you'll know, but you won't tell me because you're not going to tell me.
No.
But what will you be thinking as far as, like, when you think of me and going in to see the movie, and you're like, what are you going to be thinking as far as like, oh man, he's going to love it? Or like, what are you going to be thinking as far, when you think of me, like, I'm being very selfish here. How are you going to be thinking of me?
Well, I'll smile. Number one, I'll be relieved. And number two, I know you'll probably hoot and holler in the theater or hit Ashley next to you like you did to me with the Force Awakens trailer in Anaheim there. But it's almost like when I found out with Han dying and getting shown the clip of that, and I text you and I was excited. I will restrain myself this time, Joe. I promise I will. I'll take you back to that. Maybe this is kind of a comparison. Is when that happened, I said, well, of course, we were right back in 2013 when we came back. And Joe was very spot on. And I said, well, he'll enjoy the fact that he was right. And we were right. And the Cantina Cast was right. And, that type of thing. And I kind of wish I was there to see your reaction, because I remember what it was like at The Force Awakens when we saw that trailer that time. It was exciting. So to actually see a premiere live with you would be an interesting thing. Maybe episode 9 we'll tie it that way to Joe. We'll go out that way. We'll go watch the movie together, then podcast or whatever. But anyway, so that's what I think. And like, especially when this happens, if I find out about it, I'll be like, yeah, he'll be super excited. He'll be through the roof. He'll probably say, yes, I knew it. Or something you'll yell out in the theater or something like that. And, I don't know. It'll be, I wish I was there for that moment.
This is a month supply of lithium.
Yeah, pretty much. And you'll come down and you'll be good and stuff like that. But, I don't know. I'm trying to avoid the TV spots, and I'm trying to even, I want to know that. But, at the last minute I could text Tom and say, FedEx Tom, don't tell me. I don't really want to know, because like you, I'm afraid of getting the anger before I go in. I don't know why I would be angry. I mean, I'm kind of expecting it, but that disposition going into something so momentous.
It's not angry. It's, I guess, because
It's headcanon crap. I mean,
I mean, at first I think we were completely convinced.
Yes.
2 years ago we were completely convinced. And I'll say this, it's amazing we are where we are at right now. In some ways it seems like such a long haul, especially doing the podcast and everything else. But in another way, can you believe it's already been 2 years since The Force Awakens? And we're about to see The Last Jedi. We're about to see Episode 8. And in one way, it seems like it's been forever. And in another way, it seems like I can't believe it's already here. Like, this is insane.
It's crazy. But anyway, I guess that'll do it for tonight. We should save our discussion for next week, where we talk about our predictions, our final hype, and all that other stuff.
It's gonna be a fun episode. We're getting our Patreons involved. I got to go through and get their stuff that they want in the notes. I've got to kind of pick and choose because there's quite a bit. Some stuff we won't do, other stuff we will, but we've involved our Patreons. So check out our Patreon page. And because we kind of want to do stuff like that with them. And so they're getting involved with this episode. And it's not just really questions. It's I shared our show notes with them that I had so far. And I said, this is what we are doing for this show. So help me out with the show. So I'm actually letting the Patreons help us formulate this show. It's not just send us a random question. It's this is the show. Now you know what the show is ahead of time, and then now you can kind of really participate in it even more heavily. And so that's what being one of the it's a random perk that I just threw in there for all our Patreons, and that's what we do. We don't ever ask for a whole lot of money. $5 is our top perk on Patreon. So, we're not trying to take everybody's money and everything like that. If you want to donate, we try to throw little things like that at you, every once in a while, little surprises, bonus episodes, Cantina After Darks, which we need to do one of those very soon, Mike.
I agree, especially before I think the movie comes out, we should do a special one. Yeah, with the after show of what we're thinking.
I do have another show for our Patreons. It will be, and my wife agreed to it tonight. Fine, I did never bring it up to her. When we drive home from the Last Jedi,
that's right.
I will be recording with her in the car. She'll be driving. I'll be holding a microphone hooked into the phone, and then we'll
That'll
record.
Be interesting. I hope you film that with a camera, just to go like a GoPro.
No, I can't do that. It's just voice, but we're going to release that just for Patreon members. Every Patreon member, even at $1 level, will be able to get that episode, and we're going to release that. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff we do. It's not always what's on the perk page. Sometimes we throw other stuff in there too. So other than that, we've got, with the final hype of The Last Jedi is next week. And then that's the last episode, before the movie. And then that night we're going to be on YouTube. After we see the movie, we're going to be on YouTube, and we're going to be live streaming the podcast. If you can't watch live, obviously we're going to release it on the feed, and then we're going to have another episode after that that's going to come out that very weekend. And then I think that I'm going to make you do the listener feedback show with Albert, Mike. Because I'm going to have to go back to work, unfortunately, that week. And then you and Albert can do the listener feedback show for The Last Jedi. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do Rey breakdown, Luke breakdown, Kylo breakdown. And it's going to go all the way through January, and that's going to be the 100 Days of The Last Jedi. It's going to be Finn, Poe, Leia,
Phasma,
Snoke, everybody. Or anything that deserves recognition, and we're going to go all the way through January. It started in October. It's going to end in January. 100 Days of The Last Jedi will end at the end of January, and every episode is going to be concentrated around this movie. You're not just getting one review show. You're going to have 10 review shows, just like we did for Rogue One. We will have the most comprehensive review coverage in the world over this movie. And that's the way I saw that we did Rogue One, and that's the way we're going to do The Last Jedi. We will have the most content, more than anybody else in any medium, that I know of anyway. So maybe YouTube or whatever with their speculation and stuff, maybe some of those guys are right up there with us. But as far as podcasts and journalistic kind of stuff go, with writing and all that, I think we're right up there. So that's our plan, and we hope you join us for it.
Absolutely. So, Joe, we're going to close the show out, but tell them where to like us, find us, and all those other good stuff.
Yeah, Facebook.com/TheCantinaCast, at TheCantinaCast on Instagram and Twitter, and find us on iTunes. Leave us a review if you want to, and join us on Discord. That'll be in the show notes and all that. And obviously, I mentioned the Patreon thing well enough tonight, so I think that's it.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week, and then, it's crunch time comes, so we'll see you guys next week.
Can't wait.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.